Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's Talking Heads stream. I don't want to call them a podcast because I'm a white dude in my 20s, and if I call it a podcast, it means I've hit a milestone. So tonight's Talking Heads episode, we're doing a little bit of the tournament review, which is not the Nottingham Super Major. That is the ITT. We'll figure that out. It's in the title. Yeah, it's close enough, right? So we have joined today with Greg. Say hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg.
There we go. Who actually was at the International Teams Tournament. I wasn't. I was busy gallivanting around Ireland doing horrible things with Bridgehead over there. So tonight we're just going to run through sort of Greg's experience with it, what his list was, how his games went, and any sort of notable moments, etc. So why don't we start, Greg, with what did you take and what was your team comp? Wait. No, before that, I'm missing the whole fucking YouTube thing, aren't I?
Yeah.
Before we get into that,
smash that like and subscribe button.
Hit the wonderful YouTube buttons, which I don't know if I have. I do have there. So hit like, hit subscribe if you find yourself coming back regularly for the content. Helps us know, that we're on the right track with the content. Do love it when people leave comments what they thought. Get involved in the chat if you want to. All of that good stuff. There are multiple ways to support the channel. In the links down below in the description, you will find an affiliate link for Mighty Media Games over at Market Drayton. They are the main channel sponsor. It is an affiliate link, so if you buy anything through that, it won't cost you any more, which is good because they offer quite good discounts, but it will give me a little bit of money as kickback. So please use that to support me indirectly. If you want to support me directly, there are memberships and super chats, which are available via whatever YouTube UI is. I don't pretend to understand that, but they are the best ways to support the channel. After liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends and stuff. Greg, you're just showing the stream your belly. Apparently, this is now an OnlyFans stream. There you go.
Have to pay extra for that.
Cool. Right, now we'll get into the main bit of the content. Greg and his team comp and his team list. So you went with DeadRedGaming as DeadRedGaming.
Yeah, we had a team all together this time. Last time we had a bit of a disaster where we had to
join Carnage.
Yeah, Carnage joined us. Let's be honest.
Sure.
And we had a glass hammer as well. So we did what we had to do. Anyway, this time we had a full team with James Webster, Mark Cromwellholme, Steve Platten, and Nathan Whitbread. People probably know all of those names. They've been around a while doing the thing. So it's a good team, good lineup. So as for what I played Sinesh. People, I don't know why I'm saying this because people go, yeah. But I chose Sinesh because I thought they looked fun, and it just turned out to be bonkers. So,
genuinely, the conversations I had with Greg, because Greg likes to pick an army every year, basically. Which they don't know. Greg sent me a text saying, "I like the look of Creations of Bile, but I'll wait and see what else comes out." And then the Slanesh, the Demon one came out, Legion of Excess, and you go, I get a text saying, "Oh, I'm going to do that. That looks really fun." I'm like, "Also looks really strong, Greg." And you go, "No, I'm sure it won't be that bad." And then, like 2 weeks later, he gets a message going, "Might be a bit broken."
Yeah, it's pretty broken.
There's some pretty dumb tricks in there.
There is, but it's still fun, and I'm hoping when the inevitable nerfs come, it keeps the fun. But we'll see. I don't know what they're going to do. Could be a number of ways to nerf it, which we could talk about, I suppose, later on.
Yeah, I think that could be depending on how time goes, we can do maybe as a separate video or a members only video. Look at that. I'm thinking using my content brain, we could do like a list breakdowns of what of the list you take, why you build them, how you build them, that sort of stuff, what your thought process is around that, because obviously you've got a lot of thoughts and experience with that. But yeah, we can discuss that in the future. Anyway, so what was in the list?
Well, we're going to go for a comp first, weren't we? So Sinesh.
Oh, yes.
James took Grey Knights. The new Warpbane, is it called?
Warpbane Task Force or Strike Force or something like that, yeah.
Mark Cromwell stayed on Star Shatter. Still got play, especially with the Destroyer list that he'd come up with, which is very, very Destroyer heavy.
Yes.
Platton was on Final Day, whatever. And Nathan was on just regular Marines, Ironstorm, or I think it was Gladius. Might be Ironstorm. One of the two.
One of those.
Submarine with a concoction with Gulliman having two.
Let's see if I can find his list.
Yeah, two oaths.
Double oaths. Yeah.
With double whirlwind. He was there and he He did build to play against guard because we had a problem with guard. So when we were doing our comp, people who haven't done this before, haven't really done this sort of teams, you get the matrix together and you see where the weaknesses are. You see what you can handle, what you can't handle. And there was a big, horrible red and orange and grey line for guard, which probably most people have, to be fair. So we had to find an answer. And we felt like this was one of them, along with Sinesh.
That is a very Nathan list as well. It was Iron Storm.
So it's got, as you can see, it's got the double infiltrator, which really messes what they want to do. Double whirlwind again with double O messes what they want to do. It was a really good list.
Yeah, 2 Vindicators, 2 Predator Destructors, a Gladiator Reaper, 2 Gladiator Lancers, and Gilliman. That is a fantastic team list, right? And for people that haven't played much teams before, there's a lot of flexibility because of the pairings process, which we will touch on very briefly. In a second, I can't have that. Nottingham Super Major is really annoying me. But anyway,
what kind of see what you're talking about?
Under it says tournament review, Nottingham Super Major, like on the screen rather than ITT, but it's whatever. But yeah, so for those of you that don't know, Teams has a pairing process which allows you to be really creative with the list that you take and really focus on dealing with a specific problem. In this case, you guys have used Marines to answer the guard problem, which you were expecting to be very, very popular and very, very strong. And I think it was both of those things. So that's the wider team comp. So four of the Grotmus detachments, was that intentional, or was it just a little bit of,
they're just the strongest ones at the moment, like especially when armies haven't had any detachment for the books, like Grey Knights 1, the old detachment was I hated it. I know a lot of people enjoyed it. I think it's really, really boring. And it suffered a lot with the changes to the 6-inch deep strikes. So that really took away a lot of the tricks and the armor contempt. Same with demons. Like if you didn't have the new detachments, and you didn't have the 6 inches 3-inch deep strike, you'd struggle with new demons. Although the 6-inch deep strike and now you can charge is really strong, so that
goes a long way to help.
I have been looking at that, but that's a whole different conversation. But anyway, so my list. It's really simple. It was just 4 characters, which were the Shalaxi, a Keeper, a Tormentor, which people don't know is the special chariot with bigger, more fiends attached to it and stuff. And it was a Contorted Epitome. There was a unit of Plague Bearers, a unit of Demonettes, which I'll go into in a minute while they're there. 18 feeds, 3x6, and 3 chariots, which I love. 65-point, absolute amazing units.
Yeah, chariots.
That's my whole list. It doesn't look like much when you look at it, but when you're playing it, it's like, oh my god, this is just horrible things. So the idea of the list is, people don't know, it can fall back and charge. And the most important thing, it's got this thing called Seductive Gambit, I think it's called.
Yeah.
You can give up fight first to get 4 rerolls to hit and wound, which is just nuts because you think, okay, you're going to give up fight first, you're going to die. But then you've got other strats where you can pass off mortal wounds.
Yeah, Thieves of Pain is the main one.
Yeah, there's ways of piling in to only one thing that doesn't really care about fighting, then you pile into the thing that can fight to avoid fight first. If they don't heroic, they can't do anything about it. There's loads of tricks you can do to basically you get 4 rerolls hit and win most of the time, no matter what you're playing against.
Yeah, and hilariously, it also works on heroic intervention when you don't get fight first.
Yes,
in the first place.
You do, yeah. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, I took that. I've enjoying playing it. I enjoyed it at the team event, but I hate playing an army that's that strong because every time I haven't got this urge to keep playing it now because I know it's getting nerfed. Until it gets nerfed, it's I feel like, well, what's the point, And maybe the wrong attitude sometimes, but I just use it while it's strong and enjoy it. But I just think, what's going to happen to it? I'm going to lose all this. I'm going to lose the strength it's got, and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a view you can take with whilst it's very strong, but as a reason to not just get the models, not to chase it. However, you've got the models. Why not use them?
Well, exactly. So yeah, I think I will be using them for the time being. Yeah. Kind of. There's some other stuff I'd like to do for the Team England application and try. So, so maybe won't be using them, but we'll see.
There we go. I fixed the background. Yes, lovely stuff. So that was the sort of the broader team comp, and you had yourself as guard. What were what were you looking to do as your role within this team? It sounds like you're planning to just go smash because you've taken one of the strongest attachments and you're looking to really push those differentials.
Slanesh has a very green and yellow matrix across the board with a few bad eggs thrown in there now and then that you can pair around, basically.
So quickly, green is I'm going to win this by a lot and score a lot of points for the team. Yellow is drawish. I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to win.
Green is you predict to get 17 or more points. Yep. Yellow is 15 or more. Black would be 12 or more. Grey is between 8 to 10, I think. So it just goes up along that line. Orange and red obviously are worse at the other end. So that's how it goes. And so basically most of my matrix is yellow and green, with a few exceptions, obviously.
And so for those of you that aren't familiar with the teams format, the matrix is, so I guess now's probably a good time to just very briefly run through the pairings process. So obviously you've got five people playing 5 people. How do you pair those guys up? So how it works is you have essentially a deck of cards with the different factions on it, and each team will give out a defender first. So we'll each put forward one guy. So I'll put out mine, Greg will put out his, and then we reveal them. And into those 2 lists, I will put 2 of my attackers, or 2 of my lists as attackers into Greg's list. He'll put 2 of his into mine, and then we flip them at the same time. And the defenders then get to pick who they play against. So this process repeats all the way through until everybody's got a game to play. And the way that the scores are then calculated is you take the difference between the 2 players at the end of the game. So if I end up playing against Greg and he scores 100 points, I score 50 points, which is highly realistic. Our difference is 50 points. So that differential is 20 because it works out on a scale. If the difference is 50 or more points, it's a 20-0 to Greg. And then for every 5 points that the difference comes down, I'll get a point back. And a draw is if you're within 5 points of each other, it's a 10-10. That's a very stable, that's the drawing team. So that's a very, very whistle-stop tour of the team's format and how that works. And so you do a matrix for your faction, you look at all the different factions, either in the game or in the team that you're playing against, and you give a very rough evaluation of how you think you're going to do into it. So that's what we mean when we say matrix, pairings, and differential. Pushing the differentials is making sure you're scoring a lot and your opponent's not scoring as much as possible, because it's not like teams where you just win by 1 point, you win. You really want to push those points to score. So hopefully that's useful for people watching. Right. Back to whatever we were talking about before that, Greg. It was Slanesh, the matrix being some...
you're asking what the role was in the team, and that's generally... So how it would work is when you've got a good matrix, you would generally put down people that have got an okay matrix first as defender 1 and 2. And then you would normally attack or go down as defender 2, depending on what's left on the board. It's a bit complex about showing it like on the screen. And
we can do a more in-depth video. If that's something that people would like to see, let us know in the chat or in the comments. We can do a breakdown, like a proper Teams 101. Here's a matrix, here's the pairings process, here's how to build, where to start with SKUs and stuff like that. Because it is fastly becoming, I think, the most popular format of Warhammer. So expect to see a lot more content. I think it's my favorite way to play the game. I think, Greg, you might feel the same at the moment. So we're definitely keen to get that out here. So anyway, moving into the sort of games then. So we've established Greg here to smash. Why don't you take us through your event? How did you do? What did you play into? Were there any surprises?
Go for each game or
If you've got the time, we can go game by game.
We'll go through game 1. Have you got the scores? Remind me. So the game 1.
So round 1, you played against Majority T3, which is a team from Newcastle. There was...
I was Gene Stealer Cult.
So you played against Cameron Hayes.
Yeah, so it's a biostantic list, the usual lots of aberrants and abominants and gene stealers, the usual stuff. I had a chat with my teammate Steve, who plays, or Taz as everyone calls him. I don't know why.
I don't know where that comes from either.
Yeah, but we had a chat about it, and I predicted that Gene Silica wouldn't be that good into my list because of Shalaxi, because of the keeper, minus one attack, minus one to hit. The fiends give minus one to hit. And all of a sudden, all their stats become quite
Really
bad
nice.
into me, actually. So I can't remember exactly how the pairing went, so you have to forgive me. But generally, we paired pretty well, and we got me into one of my yellow or greens, which happened most times. And there we are. So the game went pretty much as we expected. He just couldn't deal with the output I could give, and he couldn't give enough back. I was worried that they'd have too much stuff because GC could keep getting things back, and it feels like an endless wave sometimes.
Yeah.
But I did end up just fighting through and getting that
you
could score in the end.
You're fast enough, and you have just enough weight of dice that you can chew through most anything. I think that is a really bad matchup for the GSC. So not surprised. Did you? What was the score in that one? 20-0 or
18-2 on that one?
18-2. Very nice. So very, very good score. And you guys, I think, quite comfortably took that round. As the team, which then meant that you played into 6++ Omegon. Which
it's a shame. This is so we paired decently well.
So their team comp, I've found it on the roster now, so I can very briefly run it through for people. So they had Drukhari, Necrons, Chaos Demons, Tyranids, and Dark Angels. So I don't think there's many meta picks in that list, to be fair. I think Chaos Demons, was it Slanesh Demons, or was it?
It was Slanesh.
So yeah, and then maybe Dark Angels, but I think Drukhari, Necrons, and Tyranids probably not the strongest that you could have taken.
No.
But anyway, so
Partridge is a very, very good player that's probably not known enough. He does a lot of work with 6++ and Davey. He was top nids for a while last season until me and Nathan took over right at the end. He doesn't play enough events, basically. He's a very, very good player. He knows his stuff. I ended up getting paired into him. He had like 100 gaunt list, basically, with a Turbogon.
Okay, so
he was confident that would be enough to hold me back. I was of the opposite sort of feeling. I still feel that way, even though I got under a matrix. I predicted a 15 and I got a 12.
Yeah.
If I could show you my scorecard, you'd see why. I didn't score any secondary cards for 3 turns.
Was that just because you were busy killing bugs, or they just
bad luck? I got Assassinate, bring it down when I couldn't get to his 2 big bugs. I got Cooler Horde turn 1, which I held on to because I knew I could cash it in later on, which I did. I got 10 points on it. And then when I had the entire board at one point, like he was literally trapped into like one corner of the board on one objective. And I drew Overwhelming Force and Storm. So it's like, there's my reward for absolutely dominating the board, right? Yeah, great. So it was, I do feel like if we played that 20 times, I think at 15 would probably land most of the time.
Yeah. So you had obviously you're very experienced with Nid, so you understand exactly what to do into that matchup, and it is just a case of you're asking a stat check that I can comfortably answer. I can kill that many bodies that quickly.
And it does like that list. Probably, I don't have to see the rest of these scores. I'm assuming he did. I bet he surprised a lot of people with that list because you look at it and think, oh, what's a bunch of termagants? It's nothing.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you is probably got some decent scores out of that list.
His name was Partridge, wasn't it? I have the technology. He got a 20-0 in his first round, then he lost to you by 8 points, then he got 10 points, 18 points, and 17 points.
There you go.
So definitely sounds like here's a list that if you don't know what to do or what it's trying to do, it's going to jail you, it's going to out-OC you, you're not going to score any points, and you're going to get stuck trying to deal with it. Whilst it looks like the sort of the Silvertide Necron list that just goes, I'm going to score everything. I'm not killing anything, but I'm scoring all I need.
This is the thing that I was surprised. That's what I mean. It kills a lot more than you think.
Does it?
Yeah, because you can get lethals on the Spine Fist, and they can get.
Was it Invasion Fleet? Was it?
Yeah, and when they get come with lethals anyway, then you can give them crit 5s and stuff in combat. And he had 2 or 3 Rupture Effects in there, and he had some Exocrine. So it did a lot more damage than when you look at it, what you think. And I knew where the damage could come, so obviously I played Nids a lot, experience with them, so I knew what to do. But yeah, a bit more luck my way. It would have been a 15, which is what I predicted. The mission didn't help me either. It was Purge, which is normally bad for Tyranids, but when you're running blocks of 20 and I'm a melee-only army, I'm usually only getting 1 kill a turn because that's the one they put forward, right, to block everything, which kind of happened. He got killed more a couple of times. So any other mission, he didn't have the board, and he couldn't have the board. If he came out, he'd have died. So he did what he needed to do. He understood the mission. He understood his list. And he rode that little bit of luck and got the 8 out of it, which is fair play to him. It was
very good result. And you guys drew that round in the end,
we did. Rightly. So this is the thing. If I had got one more point, and I don't mean one more differential, I got a 12-8 by. I was 15 points clear. So people don't know you have to be 16 to make it a 13-7. So one more point would have actually won that round.
Brutal.
From any of us, I think. Me,
It's not. This is the other thing about teams, right? It's not just Greg dropping 1 point drops the differential. Everybody in the team is responsible for pulling out scores together. So in a lot of cases, if you go into a bad matchup and you get 2 points out of it, like I'm talking differential points, if you get 2 points, that's massive. That getting 2 points versus getting 20 0'd can change the entire round, right? And it's not
everyone else does well. Then
it's not uncommon for that sort of thing to do. So really fighting for every point you can in teams is super important, especially if you're on that back foot.
So we were quite unlucky on that round to get the draw, which it happens. It is what it is. Then the next round we
had Hobby Henchman team average, which was Tyranids, Grey Knights, Necrons, Space Marines, and Tau Empire.
Yeah, in this matchup, the invasion fleet list was very much more of a standard invasion fleet list with old One Iron friends thrown in. Again, I know what I need to do. I know what I need to do to beat them, and it was pretty smashy. I think I got 20-0 in that one, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Yeah, you went. Yeah, it's especially on take and hold hidden supplies. If you establish the board position, there's not much the Nids can do. Yeah, especially if you're playing around the tricks that give them those routes back into the game.
Invasion fleet's biggest weakness is being tagged. There's no fallback shoot and charge and no fallback do anything. So if you tag the whole army, which is a lot of blasting as well, it becomes really hard for them to do. This was what I did. I just rushed him essentially, past mortals and got him to do fail battle shocks where it was important. When because they do battle shocks on 3 dice if they're in synapse. So every time I caught a monster out or something that's going to shoot me that was outside of synapse.
Oh yeah,
they're leadership 8 naturally, the big monsters. So they're a 9 with that stratagem. So
or 10 if they're in shadow. Oh no, leadership can't get worse than a 9.
No, it can't get worse than 9. Yeah. So it was really rough for him.
Is the test at -1 from the dice roll or -1 leadership?
I know there is. There's a -1 leadership and there's a -1. I know it can go more of you.
So for those that aren't intimately familiar with the Slash stratagems, this is one where basically when I select one of my units to shoot one of Greg's units, he can spend 1 CP, and I have to take a battle shock test at -1. And then if I'm in the shadows, it functionally goes to -2 because that's what shadows does. But if I fail that test, and in these cases, if it's an 8 or a 9. I'm not allowed to shoot that unit at all, right? I have to shoot something else, which can be massive, right? If you just turn
really
on.
Strong. It's probably 2 steps.
And if I do pass it, it's still -1 to hit. It is wildly, that's the second strongest stratagem in that codex or in that index, which is bonkers, right? Because you put that strat in any other book, and it's by far one of the strongest strats. And Slash just has another one that's a little bit better. But yeah, so. Fairly, I don't want to say trivial, right? That's probably the wrong word, but you're confident into that matchup. Your list lines up good into it, and you can execute on the plan.
Yeah, the Nid player was quite good. You're just up against it. There's not a lot you can do, in that situation.
Yeah, sometimes you just pull Greg, and and you like, so mate, do you know what Nid's doing, Chris? Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that guy didn't know who I was actually, so he asked me, "Do you know what Nid's doing?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty familiar." Yeah.
you didn't hit him with the.
No, I don't like telling people because if they don't know, I'd like to keep it that way. So I don't think it's fair to put that pressure on.
Yeah,
I never tell people like
at the start of the game. Did you tell him at least?
I don't mean it like that, but you know what I mean. I don't tell people like what my accolades are, or where I am in the game at the moment, because I don't think it's fair because they just instantly then put themselves on the back foot and they're probably in a down state. And I'd rather them think they've got a chance and I'm just a random person, right? So,
it sounds so loving until you say.
No, but I've lost.
I want them to think they've got a chance. And
no, but I mean an actual chance. I don't.
Like,
if I beat everybody, I'd win every major I went to. I don't.
Did you tell him afterwards? Like, look, I'm very good at this.
Usually, if they ask or the conversation goes that way, I normally tell them,
Yeah, that's fair. Cool. So a nice end to day one. So 2 wins, 1 draw at the end of day one. And round 4, you paired into Mind Goblins, who they didn't go on to win it. They got to the finals, right?
They won.
They won it, did they? In the end,
yeah, that's our.
yeah, you guys just lose.
That's our thing. We always play the winners.
Yeah. So whoever beats DeadRedGaming, they're going to win the event. That's what we're saying. Cool. And they had Astra Militarum, Leagues of Votan, Adeptus Mechanicus, Space Marines, and Orcs.
Mm-hmm.
How did the pairings process go? And you played into Dom with his guard, right? So
I think the pairing process went well. It's not. I've got to be careful here. I'm not trying to throw people under the bus, but I feel like we have spoken about this since our matrix wasn't correct in that setup. Because if you look at what our pairings was, we didn't lose. So obviously people got under their matrix, is what I'm trying to say. I ended up going into the guard because I think we put me and Nathan into it, I think, and he chose me, which he would. So
I don't think that. And round 4 is Burden of Trust, right?
Yeah. So I was a grey into guard, so I was expecting to pick up 8 or 9 points, which is that's quite a big loss for our setup because none of the other lists are there to get big scores. So instantly the big score that we were going to get is taken off the board, which shows I don't think any of our team scored big in that matchup. I think I've done pretty well. James did really well over the whole tournament.
James got 18 points in that round.
There you go.
So very well into Votan.
Yeah, he did very well. So then I played into Bridgehead, which was Dom. It was another England squad member. So he's a good player. He knows what he's doing. I feel like I played very well. I'm not blowing my own trumpet. I feel like I even said that when we were playing. It was like, you keep doing everything that I don't want you to do. It's really annoying. And I was like pushing him out where I needed to. I pushed out the right things. He expected me to push my fiends out first. So I was just like, no. I sent out the keeper and Shellac.
Keepers, which he struggles to deal with.
Yeah, and then that's what I did. And then we just went from there. And I was, again, sound like a broken record. I was quite unlucky in this game. I kept doing the battle shock test. So unless you have a stratagem, you can use in my command phase. Everything in shadows in the warp, which is when I hold half the objectives in the middle, becomes the whole area becomes shadows, or 6 inches of in Shellaxi or a keeper. Anything in that range has to take a battle shock, me included, and the opponent. You think, well, why would you want to do that? So it's on a 5 up in shadows automatically because it wouldn't be taking a battle shock.
And this is on 2 dice, guys, by the way.
It's on 2 dice.
Not 1.
And if I pass it, I can heal. I can regrow Demonettes, or I can heal D3 on the model that passes the battle shock. So it's really good for me because generally you're going to pass most of them and then you get heal and then your opponent takes them. And then when they fail, they're battle shocked. So they're OC0, which is really important. And they take D3 mortal. So it's quite big. I did that
like a shadow in the warp, but it does something.
I think I did that strat 3 or 4 times. I think I did it 3 times and one was a natural battle shock. And every single time, Shellaxi and the keeper failed their battle shocks.
Oh, but yeah, that's rough. That's really rough.
Horrible. So that cost me... For every one of those that would have gone through, it would have been a hold, what do you call it? Guard, and it would have been a hold. So every one that I failed would have been a 6 point. So over the course of the game, for me failing those 4 battle shocks, it cost me 24 primary points.
Yeah, which is huge. And that's a matchup that is like Slaanesh favoured to begin with. But when the dice don't go your way, it does make a big impact, right?
I think it's our favourite, to be fair. Like I said, it's grey on my matrix. Will Whitaker thinks the same. He's got it down as a bad on his
All matrix. The guard players I know have it as not great. But I think that's just because we don't want to deal with it.
See, Dom had it as a good on his matrix as well. So
it's
interesting.
Maybe I haven't looked at it on UKTC. Maybe it's different. But from my point of view on WTC especially, it can get real dicey real quick with the tables. But... We can have that discussion later.
I was very, very unlucky. I still managed to pull out the 11-9. There was actually it was a 10-10, and then Dom admitted that he used the strat on Gaunt's Ghost for a 6-inch deep strike. Sabotage. But to be fair, it's quite hard to catch. So they don't have the deep strike keyword, but because of the way they're worded, they can land anywhere.
Yes.
But because they don't have the deep strike keyword, they can't use a 6-inch deep strike. Stratagem.
Yes. Yeah.
It's quite hard to catch, and fair play to me. Come up to me straight away after the game. He's like, Greg, we need to change the score. So he went to the judge, changed the score, and he was fair on that. So
yes, there's a lot of little things in that Grotmus thing about who gets +1 to wound, who gets the strength and AP, there's a few little things that are very easy to miss. So and this is like the second. No, it's yeah, it's the second major event where all of the Grotmus detachments have been live. So these mistakes do happen. But he caught it and rectified it, and fair play to Don for coming over and rectifying the situation. So that's great.
As the team went, as the whole team, as you can see from the scores, it didn't go well. The Lewis list is amazing. It's very similar to what Innis was running without the indirect.
The Marines one.
It's the Liberator Assault. So if people don't know, it's kind of it will be fixed. It has to be.
Yeah.
So when the recent changes were, if you're not a divergent chapter, i.e. Blood Angels or Dark Angels, etc., you get +1 to wound when you owe something. So what which I really don't agree with, what people have been doing is taking Blood Angels.
Blood Angels detachment. But no Blood Angels units.
Yeah, but no Blood Angels units. So they're classed as being a non-divergent chapter, which even just saying it out loud is ridiculous.
When you say it like that, but rules is written, and how they've ruled it. Oh, my camera's just died. But how they've ruled it is that it works and you can do it. So
and it's one of those lists, and I did explain this to Nathan before we played. I was like, don't underestimate it. It does a lot more than you think, and I don't blame anyone who doesn't underestimate it, by the way, because it doesn't seem like much. It's just a bunch of dudes running around with some ballistic dreadnoughts backing them up and some Preds. But the thing is like every JPI squad can kill a tank on its own, and so on. Right? It becomes really, really rough. So that kind of caught us out. And a big one as well for this and the next game. Bit of a spoiler. So as you know, going second on Burden is massive, right? It's 3 to 4 differential points despite going second.
Yes.
So in this game and in the next game, which the Scorch is also a bunch of points for going second. Out of the 10 go first rolls, we had one of our guys go second in that whole.
Yeah, that is brutal.
Yeah, in that game, we all apart from James went second, i.e., he got a nice big score.
Happy grey night noises, yeah.
Yeah, and then the rest of us all went first, which was just rough. So that would have changed quite a lot of the scores. Apparently, the guy that played Mark, Johnny Simmons, he scored 40 points in the last turn, or last 2 turns.
Yeah, Burden will do that.
Those lines anyway. It was like, whoa, because he was doing okay. Every time I went to him, he was like, yeah, drawish. Then it just wasn't drawish.
No, yeah, it's drawish for now, and then here's a bucket of scoring, because I think Burden is uncapped scoring as well on the primary mission there as well.
Yeah, we thought he would be good into that list, because Admech is a bunch of low toughness 2 wound models, right?
Yeah.
And he had a ton of locust destroyers, which are strength 6 AP 3, 2 damage
with 36 shots. Oh
yeah, lethals, and so we thought he could kill a lot, and he did. He absolutely murdered them. But with Burden, as we've discussed, he just needed a couple of units left at the end, and that's his point scored.
The other punishing thing about Burden is because you don't score as much for your objective. You only you don't score it at all in Burden. I'm thinking Lynchpin.
No, you don't.
A lot of armies, especially armies that play for these draws and play to be more cagey, they rely on scoring a decent floor out of their home objective. As soon as you take that away, Burden, Lynchpin, and Ritual, anything like that, they have to start fighting for the midboard, and that's things that quite often they don't want to do into certain lists.
And that's what happened with Nathan's games back. Apparently, a number of times he left one Marine left alive on her. And every point you get in Burden for primary is so important because it's so hard to get. You have to scrap for every little point. Yeah. So when you're leaving a Marine alive here and a Marine alive over there, and he's getting 8 points primary, that's huge because that's 8 points you're probably not going to get.
And usually it's more than that. Usually it's 6 because they're guarding.
So So it snowballed out of control for those 2, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we ended up not really sure what happened with the Gene Court versus Orc game. I think he just couldn't handle the pressure that Orcs can give. I don't know that matchup very well. I don't know how this would go.
Steve running final day. Yeah, I think Orcs can just overrun them. It's the same as you did. You can just chew through them and keep pushing through their reserves.
I think that's basically what happened, yeah.
And Orcs have ridiculous amounts of OC that whilst GSC have ridiculous amounts of OC, once Orcs are on a point, it's very hard to shift them off of it for that list, particularly for Steve's list.
Yeah, and as for James, as we've already touched on, he smashed it the whole weekend. He scored quite high from a list that probably doesn't. Saying that though, Matt Bowley, who's also been playing them from Glasshammer, he's raving about how high they score.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of chatter and a lot of popularity for Wartbane. I think interestingly though, James and Matt are both running without the Dread Knights. I think.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, there's a lot of people going, 5 Dread Knights, but I think the stronger version of that list.
Well, I played Dread Knights in the last game, so spoiler alert. We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that. Did they die to a stiff breeze? That's what I'm gonna. That's gonna be my question, because every time I run Dread Knights, they die like that. There's numerous games on stream. I think when I played Brendan, and the MVP of that game was my 2 Storm Ravens, not my 4 Dread Knights. And I know Matt is very high on the Dread Knights. So that, after an unfortunate loss to the guys who went on to win it. So if you're going to lose it, right, lose to the guys that win.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they did brilliant. Fair play to them.
Yeah.
I know Lewis is. I've interacted with him a lot now because he's another Team England squad applicant. He knows his stuff, and I know he captained that team, and I know he puts a lot of time and effort into understanding the game and how it works. And I really respect him. He's got great opinions on the game and great understanding of how the game works. So I'm not surprised he can take a team with. And I don't mean this in no disrespect. If you look at the names in that team, there's not, there isn't anyone there, I don't think, that's won majors.
Johnny, I think, has. Or Johnny's got 2 top cuts.
He's got top cut.
Yeah, Johnny's got
none of them are not, you know what I mean? It's not a team like Ignite where it's full of 5 major winners, or like the Belgian team that was there, or in his team and stuff. And I know, don't get me wrong, I know they all knocked each other out. There's a bit element of luck here because.
But you need luck to any good run is going to have a bit of luck to it.
But they still beat everyone in front of them.
And they still beat Vanguard Tactics in the final, right? They didn't just hit nobodies. They beat you guys. So yeah, fair play to Mind Goblins. Congratulations for that. It's a huge achievement.
Very well.
And it does show that teams and singles, it's a very different kettle of fish. There's different skills, different play styles that translate very differently. Especially with certain factions, right? There are factions that we don't see in singles because they just don't. They have too many bad matchups that are phenomenal in teams because you can protect them in the pairings. And well done to Louis, or Louis or Lewis, for bringing.
I never know. That's why I caught myself saying it. I was like, well, I'm probably saying this wrong. I think it's Louis.
Yeah. So well done to him. There we go.
Well done to the team. But yes,
well done to the team. Yeah. Well done to him for capturing it.
Done a lot of heavy lifting with the chatter and the organisation, because I know that's the sort of guy he is.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then moving on to round 5, you guys played Vale Renegade Mystery Machine, so a team out of Cardiff. They have Astra Militarum, Orcs, Grey Knights, Blood Angels, and Genestealer Cults. So a lot of the common ones we've seen here with Guard, Grey Knights, Blood Angels, and GSC, and then Orcs, because I think Orcs were potentially a little bit unexpected how popular they were.
I wasn't surprised by it. I think Orcs are definitely.
Oh yeah, of course, Tactical Brigade Orcs, isn't it? Yeah. No, I'm not surprised anymore.
They're a top 5 army.
I'm saying blatant lies to make content. There we go. Anyway, so how did this round go?
I think pairings went brilliant in this. I think their captain didn't do the pairing, and when he came back to see the pairing, he was a bit like, "What the?
How's this happened then?"
Yeah. So I'm not sure how that happened. I wasn't really involved in the pairings.
Why did they start pairings without the captain?
I don't know. I didn't realize that was happening, but I think they just did it, and then Mark did the pairings with another guy, and we got everything we wanted. I mean, for example, like they picked their Grey Knight player picked me when I attacked into him.
Right. Was the Grey Knight player the guy at the table? Was he there?
No, it was somebody else, and then he chose the light board as well. So,
no. Okay, Greg. So how many turns did he have stuff left?
That was good English. He was basically tabled by turn 3. We called it a turn 3, 20-0.
Yeah, I can imagine you just go, you're dead now. So what happened with the Dread Knights there? You said you were going to touch on how good Dread Knights are in Warpbane.
Shalaxi killed one, Fiends killed another one, and then Fiends killed another one. They didn't last. Slanesh are very, very good into Grey Knights. If you play in Slanesh and your matrix isn't green into them, you're doing something wrong. Go find out what you're doing wrong. And
you have the speed to screen. You punch
it's
like
got
a truck.
Speed. Every damage profile you put is perfect. It's AP2 or AP3.
Death wounds, phenomenal.
Death wounds. You got Shalaxi. There's one pops any vehicle she touches.
Unless it's like unless it's like a 10-man brick of Terminators, you can just let them fight first. Or the Purifiers, maybe.
Even then, you send
get reroll wounds.
They're always going to have a character attached. You send Shalaxi and she'll kill 7.
Yeah, it's but she can't give up the fight first, but she doesn't
need to. She gets it's a character unit.
Yeah.
So she doesn't need to. That's why she's there. So that's what I mean. It's Grey Knights are not a good.
Yeah.
No. Even Matt Bowers running the Storm Raven.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? Storm Raven.
Storm Raven, yeah. So the play with that is you rapidly aggressive Storm Raven.
We were talking about it when he was very drunk. Yeah,
he
got very drunk.
He stole that from my stream. I was running it first.
Yeah, so he got really drunk and we were talking about it, but I still believe I just kill everything else and let the Storm Raven fly around doing what.
Yeah, the Storm Raven can't win the game, but it will just be annoying.
I just kill everything else.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's
very quickly
remotely good matchup for Grey Knights.
And
then a light board.
Yeah, on a light board. So the other matchups, Mark went into Orcs.
His profiles line up good into Orcs then.
Very good into Orcs. He did very well. Got a 16-4 there.
Yep.
Nathan went into Guard. We finally got that matchup, and there we go. There's a Guard blunted there. 10-10. That's what he was there for, and that's what he did.
Yeah, Guard just can't push that matchup at all.
No. And again, we went first everywhere. Literally all 5 games we went first. So, you can add another 5 to 10 points on every score if we went second there.
Yep, 100%.
So, James went into
GSC.
GSC the Cult, which he wanted. There were solid good on his matrix, which he got, he predicted, and that's what he come out with.
Yep.
And then I think Steve just slightly lost to something. Was it Blood Angels?
Blood Angels, yeah.
He said he made a couple of mistakes, a couple of errors, which is we're only human. Yeah. And he knew what went wrong, and he's been looking at his list and how to fix it. I think he's adding some ridge runners and stuff like that. But yeah, generally, he did kind of get bust anyway. Like no one really wanted the Blood Angels in that matchup because there were actual Blood Angels with Sangard. So he said he'd just take them and blunt them, which he kind of did. So
yeah, he didn't get 20 O's. He got a bunch of points out of it. So
he did his job.
Yeah, and
so allowed everyone else to get the scores they wanted. So.
Yeah, exactly that. Right. Sometimes you give somebody a really shit pairing so that your 3 other guys can get wins. Right, and it will, especially in 5-man teams. I've certainly noticed this. Like 120-0 just swings pretty much locks in the round.
Absolutely.
And then so long as whoever's getting bust just digs in for points and gets a number of points, it makes the in 5s I tend to try and pair for either 4 small wins and a draw or 1 big win and the rest are draws ish.
Yeah.
So multiple different
pairings. I do think you need to find that 1 big win. And that's where our Mind Goblins pairing didn't go right for me, in my opinion. There was no big win there. Even if we all got our matrix, it was drawish. So we'd already put ourselves in a bad place.
Yeah, it's in 5s is way more drawish than like 8s, for example.
But yeah, so I think we came, was it 17th overall?
Something like that. I will check. But yeah, very very good strong for you showing for you guys. You went 4-1 or 4-1, 3-1-1?
3-1-1, yeah.
3-1-1
draw, so it's a shame. But it is what it is. We
DeadRed not sure. Yeah.
We want to do better. Like we're not unhappy with that result. We're not happy with it either.
Yeah, there's room for improvement. That's the 18th.
18th.
And you yourself, I think you came like 11th or something like that.
No, it was like 28th.
28th, yeah.
It was 23rd, but then because of the way round 6 worked, they all got more points. So
yeah,
a bit weird, but yeah.
So it pumps them up, yeah.
But yeah, so considering I got put into Bridgehead, yeah, I think I did pretty well. I'm quite happy with my performance.
Yeah, no, it was a very, very strong performance. Yeah, I certainly like the Bridgehead matchup. I don't think anybody has a real good idea of what that's supposed to look like at the moment. I think Guard players think it's good for Slash, and Slash players think it's good for Guard.
Yeah, it's a strange one.
It definitely it just comes down to
Orcs is the same, by the way.
Yeah,
Orcs and Slash have the exact same debate. No one knows who's the best.
Yeah, it's do I make loads of mortals or do I pass a battle shock test and actually shoot what I want to shoot? That's the that I think is how the Guard matchup goes, and I don't like it because I just don't want to deal with it. So I just put it as a 1 in all of my matrices as like pair around it. It's fine.
Yeah.
But so obviously you said there's room for improvement. Are you sticking on Slanesh then? What changes would you make for your list, or do you think it's pretty good for the role that it was doing?
I don't think I'll stick on it. Purely because of Team England stuff. I can't talk about it too much, but like I would rather experiment now. I've been given free rein to just go experiment and see what I can come up with.
We get Greg in the kitchen. He's going to cook something up.
So yeah, we know Slanesh. We know Slanesh are good. We know they're getting nerfed. There's nothing more to gain from that.
Yeah, you know you can play them. You don't need to do loads of reps into it. You've got a good understanding. So
there's Emperor's Children coming out hopefully very soon. Rumor is like pre-orders start in March.
Yes,
I'm probably going to go back on NIDS for a bit and try some stuff out there. Eldar as well. And we'll go from there really and see what happens. See what I can come up with.
Amazing stuff. We'll have some of the. I'm sure we'll have some of the less secret testing, as it were, on stream. Obviously, I'm doing island stuff. You're doing island stuff. Any stuff we do on stream, we're not going to be doing secret source, and
No, obviously we can't.
That's obvious. So I'll say that in the public eye, so that we can't ever be accused of it. We've had that conversation up front.
No, we do not talk about lists anymore.
Yeah,
not team lists anyway.
We'll talk about random. Charles has come up with a fun 13 tank list or something.
Yeah.
But we'll get you on the stream for long and playing some stuff. And we are going to do more stuff on WGC terrain and the team's format in general as part of the regular battle rep. So if you guys do want to see those, make sure you hit the subscribe button. You'll get notified next time we go live. If you hit the bell notification, and you can catch some of those streams and our thoughts on that.
Anything you want to try in NIDS, as the Creed has asked? I played a test game of it earlier. I think Vanguard NIDS are back because of the meta suits them very much. And I think Assimilation Swarm is probably still good as well. I'm going to try some more of that. Vanguard NIDS, if you wonder why they're good, they beat Eldar. Charles watched we do earlier.
They beat Guard.
They beat Guard comfortably. I believe they beat Space Marines. I believe they beat Orcs. Custo, the big stuff is a problem, but that's not really gone away. The only big stuff list around, it really is Custodes.
Yeah, and if there's just one thing that you can't play with, you can pair around that easily.
And even in singles, I don't think it's an unwinnable matchup because they hate T10 and above, but the Contemptors are T9, right?
Yeah. Contemptors T9 10 wins.
So it's not the end of the world, that matchup at all. It's still very much doable. It just isn't as a counter. They're more of a counter to me, but I can still do it. They beat Slanesh as well, I believe, in theory. I think they beat Slanesh. So
I can see that. I can definitely see that, especially if you know what Slanesh want to do. Right?
Yes.
When you have that experience, it's a huge, just having that familiarity with your opponent's list is a huge advantage for stopping them pulling all the tricks they want to do.
So yeah, you might see some Vanguard NIDS on stream soon. So I'm going to be practicing them up a bit more. So I know they're quite popular and people like seeing the Vanguard being used.
Yes, they are always a fan favorite when we bring them on. So lovely stuff. Is there anything else you want to touch on or talk on before we wrap it up, Greg? Because we're about at the 45-minute mark, if not a little bit over.
No, I'm happy. Everyone
Perfect. Else. So thank you for coming on and talking to us. It's always great to hear your views and opinions and these talking head sort of content. I've had some good feedback on. So hopefully, if you do like it, guys, leave a comment, let us know. And from me and Greg, we'll say goodbye and see you in the next one.
Yeah.